Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. Shop online and get $30 off your first online order when you use code SAVE30 at checkout. Get the same prices, deals, and rewards as in-store. Get started at Safeway.com or the Safeway app.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
If you're already dreaming of ski season, get this. Vail will charge you much less to ski or ride on a buddy pass. If you go with someone who has an Epic Pass, the company now says you'll pay half off at Vail, Keystone, Breckenridge, and Beaver Creek. The promotion may bring more skiers to the mountains. Recently, Vail Resorts has seen a decline in visitors. I'm Bazi Kanani. Coming up, Denver City Council will vote on whether to require businesses, events, and apartments to compost.
And the goal is to reduce how much solid waste Denver sends to landfills.
Then, as the school year starts, banned books have been put back on the shelf in one Colorado school district. Plus, a man who performed as the Nuggets' high-flying mascot is suing the team.
I would be out on the court throwing half-court shots, not being able to squat all the way down and throw it and reach the basket.
And ideas for your weekend, including poetry in action.
Artists really set the tone when it comes to society.
It's Friday, August 15th. Here's the news in Colorado today. You've probably seen green bins alongside trash and recycling outside houses, especially if you live in Denver. Well, soon you could see a lot more of those compost bins at businesses and apartments in the city, with a vote at Denver City Council as soon as this coming Monday. But some are worried about it. Denverite's Kevin Beatty has been digging into this. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Bazi. Great pun.
I couldn't resist. Denver voters said in 2022 that they wanted more composting. So what's happening now?
That's right. In 2022, voters approved a ballot measure called Waste No More, which will require composting in apartment buildings, businesses, outdoor events, and construction sites. And the city was already providing those green residential bins for optional use over the last few years, but they're just now getting around to requiring it elsewhere. And the goal is to reduce how much solid waste Denver sends to landfills. Right now, about 70% of our waste goes to landfills, and the city wants that down to about 30%.
Why has there been this delay in getting composting to all these types of locations?
Yeah, it's been 3 years since voters passed this measure, but the city hasn't been enforcing those rules. And that's just what happens with ballot measures. These laws can pass without getting input from city offices, and there's often a period of reconfiguration to bring the spirit of those measures in line with what's practical. And in this case, there are concerns about how small businesses and community events will fare with these new rules. It's something City Council member Amanda Sandoval brought up recently. Her family has run La Casita on Denver's north side since the 1970s, and she said she's been canvassing restaurants in the area.
With all of the food costs that are going up, all of the equipment costs that are going up, all of the hauling costs that are going up, the fluctuation in prices of tomatoes, the fluctuation in prices in avocados, the fluctuation of prices of everything, that my small businesses just don't feel at this time that I can support the recommendations from the committee.
And some restaurants, they're not necessarily opposed to the idea of composting, but they are concerned about the logistics and that it might not be as easy as one might think.
Why is that? What are the extra costs that Sandoval and others are worried about?
In theory, composting is simple. Organic material, things like food scraps and lawn clippings, is collected and placed in environments that allow bacteria, fungi, and worms to break it down into fertilizer. But that mix needs to be free of contamination. No plastic or glass, stuff like that, because it is meant to go back into the soil. And that means there needs to be quality control. Businesses are concerned about what it will cost to create these new compost streams and to make sure they're not contaminated. I wanted to know just how much work that could take, so I went and got a close-up look.
Very brave, Kevin, to get up close to composting.
Didn't smell as bad as you think.
That's good to hear.
But yeah, I went to the National Western Center because they've been ahead of this curve. They're already doing composting before the city mandates it for them. The National Western Center's sustainability and safety manager is named Corey Jones. He's actually supposed to have more of an office job, but he spends a lot of time with his hands in bins, literally sorting out trash from compost.
And then what I'm going to do is empty out the contents because...
Here he's trying to help someone figure out where her cup should be tossed. A barista said it was compostable. They stared at it for 5 minutes, and then they determined actually it wasn't.
If it doesn't say BPI certified, we cannot accept it as compost.
And this demonstrates how tricky this can be in public spaces.
So it's not as quick as just tossing it into a thing, and I think a lot of people...
So he's there to help people sort through this. You can just see that this sort of represents the maximal effort that an event planner or business owner might have to go through to make sure that what they're doing is actually effective.
I can see how that would take a lot of time. So if the city council does in fact expand the compost mandate, what happens if businesses, landlords, event organizers can't or don't comply with it?
Yeah, if it passes, the ordinance does give officials power to levy civil charges on parties that ignore the rules. The city says they prefer education over enforcement, but this is feeding into concerns about all this extra expense and extra work. There are also questions about whether Denver will be able to keep an eye on this at all, since the city is about to lay off a whole lot of workers. Meanwhile, Mayor Mike Johnson's office has been working on exemptions that will at least spare the smallest operators. As a result of that, the proposal that Denver City Council will weigh in on is more lenient than what voters originally approved. Environmentalists who've been pushing this all along are not super happy about the idea of carving out exceptions. But Tim Hoffman, Mayor Johnston's policy director, says this will still be a big deal, even if the language isn't as sweeping as some hope.
This is a massive sea change and a transformational good for how this city deals with its waste.
Basically, what he's saying is there will be compost now in all of these places where it wasn't previously.
So at least some progress is made.
More than some, he'd argue.
Thanks, Kevin.
Smell you later. Thanks for having me.
Much later, hopefully. When students in the Elizabeth School District return today, some books that were banned by the district will be back on library shelves. That is, at least until the next volley in an ongoing court battle.
Colorado is not necessarily a state I would be expecting a book ban to come from.
Ellen Hopkins is the author of 6 of the 19 books that were banned by the Elizabeth School District at about this time last year. According to court documents, those 19 books were among 100 books that were deemed sensitive and that would include parent notification if a student tried to check them out. One of Hopkins' books that was banned is called Crank.
My daughter, when she was a junior in high school, met the wrong people and got involved she became a meth addict for a good part of her life. And I just wanted to save other kids from making that same mistake.
Hopkins says she writes honestly about hard things that young people go through, not shying away from sensitive topics like sexuality, drugs, and relationships.
I have gotten over those years, seriously, thousands and thousands of messages from kids thanking me for that book, for turning their lives around, for giving them some understanding into a loved one's addiction or whatever. And so that book is not available to kids that still need that book. That to me it's disappointing. It makes me sad.
But it is back on the shelves now, sources at the school tell us. It's been months since a court ruled in favor of the ACLU and some parents who fought the ban. Hopkins believes the recent rise in book banning at schools across the country is about politics, not individual parent concerns.
It's like a salvo in the drive to cripple public education.
But the superintendent of Elizabeth Public Schools has denied that. Dan Snowberger said in the spring that the books were removed after a, quote, careful and transparent process that did involve parents. He said the school board's decision was about removing content that is sexually explicit and age inappropriate. The legal dispute in Elizabeth may not be over. In fact, it appears to be headed to trial. The author, Hopkins, is concerned that school book bans will cause publishers and authors to self-censor, leaving young readers without an important form of understanding and help.
Kids are going through these things. By taking books off bookshelves, that's not going to keep that stuff from happening.
with a team as good as the Nuggets have been the past few years, one of the highlights of going to the games is the mascot. Have you seen Rocky dunk or shoot a half-court shot behind his back? It's pretty amazing. Well, a person who used to perform as Rocky is now suing the Nuggets. CPR's Tony Gorman spoke with him this week. Tony, can you tell us more about him and what he alleges in this lawsuit?
Yeah, sure. His name is Drake Solomon. He was the mascot from 2021 to 2024. Now, he's saying that he was wrongfully terminated. He had gone through hip replacement surgery while he was still an employee during the 2023-2024 season. He alleges that the team held tryouts for a new performer to wear the mountain lion suit for the following season, even though he still had the job and doctors had cleared him after his surgery. He says that after the tryouts, he was fired, and his attorney alleges that this violates several provisions of state law protecting workers.
So he had a hip surgery. Did his hip injury happen because of the job?
Actually, he told me that's not the case. He said that he started experiencing hip pain during the Nuggets championship 2022-2023 season.
It was getting to the point where I would be out on the court throwing half-court shots and not being able to squat all the way down and throw it and reach the basket. And there's many times I was in tears out there just because of the pain was so excruciating. I'd have to go to the back and take off the head, and I'd just have tears running down my face.
So he was diagnosed with something called avascular necrosis, where a lack of blood causes bone tissue to die. He was given two options, both were surgeries. He tried one where they drilled holes into his hip to promote blood flow, but after he was still experiencing a lot of pain, so he ended up getting a total hip replacement surgery. Now, before the second surgery, he was told by his supervisors that they'd be holding tryouts for a new Rocky because he, quote, burned them the last time, and they didn't know if it was going to work out the second time.
Solomon also told you that his firing affected more than just him.
Yeah, it's a really big deal, in part because his unique family history with the Nuggets and this line of work. Solomon was not even the first Rocky in his own family.
Really?
Yeah, his dad, Ken Solomon, was Rocky for over 30 years. His performances as Rocky led to the mascot's induction into the Mascot Hall of Fame. Yes, that is a real thing. He took over when his dad retired. His older brother is also a mascot. He's the Detroit Pistons horse mascot, Hooper. Their younger brother was also a game assistant for Rocky here in Denver. So Solomon said that getting fired affected his whole family.
It was heartbreaking for me and my family. I like to always say that Rocky was kind of like a second dad. You know, the character, the personality, we grew up with him. And, my brother was also let go as well as my assistant. And so it was really hard for all of us to see Rocky go.
And he had to train pretty intensely to be the mascot. He had to be able to do flips and dunks and all the crazy antics we see Rocky do at games.
Clearly, you have to be very talented to be Rocky. So what is the team saying in response to the lawsuit?
Well, there hasn't been any official statement yet from the team due to it being both a legal and personnel matter.
What happens next with the lawsuit?
Well, Solomon wants to get back to being a mascot in the NBA, whether it's with the Nuggets or not. With his lawsuit, he is seeking monetary damages.
CPR's Tony Gorman. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can hear a professional poet perform this weekend and participate in an open mic at the same time in Adams County. It's one of at least 9 places in Colorado that have local poets laureate. Carrie Joy ends her 2-year appointment at this capstone event on Saturday.
My tribe is Yardi, Reggae, Arawak. Yes, sir. My tribe is Yam, Pear, Patois. Dr. Bird come daily with hibiscus and a song. Teach me to sing through it all. My tribe is drums, quick feet, hums, grunts, rum, poetry. My tribe have swag. Yeah.
This is an excerpt of one of Joy's recent poems called One Love Tribe.
I've always believed that artists really set the tone when it comes to society. I think that in a lot of ways, the artists do it first. We talk about it first. We challenge social norms first.
Joy views making change as her responsibility.
I had to fight for my own liberation. And in doing that publicly, I feel like it gives others permission and understanding that they are allowed to, or they should fight for their own liberation as well.
The county and its partner, Anythink Libraries, hope poetry like Joy's leads to conversation. Here's Anythink's director, Mark Fink.
With the complexity of things in the world right now, providing opportunities for people to reflect and think critically around things that they're hearing and information and messages that they're receiving, I think is really important.
At Joy's final performance in the role this weekend, Adams County will also introduce a new poet laureate. That event is Saturday evening in Thornton. For more ideas for your weekend, check out the Colorado Arts Spotlight in our show notes. Reporting for today's show also came from CPR's Lauren Antonoff-Hart and Elaine Tassi. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday. I'm Bazi Kanani. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. Shop online and get $30 off your first online order when you use code SAVE30 at checkout. Get the same prices, deals, and rewards as in-store. Get started at Safeway.com or the Safeway app.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.